We are 5 o'clock. We'll bring this meeting to order. I'm here. Councilmember Watson's here. Councilmember Evans is here. We'll go into reports and presentations. So Chuck.
Yes, Brian actually is watching his son play soccer. Their first game is today, so I gave him a pass on being here. So you have in front of you the weekly staffing report. You'll see a lot of people under the hire letters. All those people are starting. Actually, there's one more, I believe. So there's at least 10 people, new employees that are starting in the next month. Brian's been exceptionally busy, and there's still a number of people that we're looking to hire. They did a maintenance worker street and storm interview on Monday. Police are always looking for new people, especially when people start leaving. We have one person who's retiring at the end of the month, so they'll be looking at probably, I'm sure you'll be rolling a promotion and then hiring a lower level person. Maintenance worker 2's, the internal has closed and they're opening that one for externally. There's 2 positions in maintenance workers. And we are looking at a building inspector. I believe that's also enclosed internally and that's gone out externally. Public Works is also looking for administrative specialist 3 because Debbie is coming over to the dark side. She's coming to the clerk's office starting on Wednesday. But
can you make sure that's in the minutes?
And Chuck is so glad he's got an awesome new employee coming up there. Those are in the minutes.
No training there, Acha.
No training whatsoever. And you'll see that the human resource generalist, Badir, has signed, I believe, her official offer letter, and she's starting on April 10th. So Brian will have a little bit of help. She's coming from CTAC. She's been there at CTAC for about 17 years as an HR generalist, basically. Slightly different name, but very similar duties. Has co-led wellness before, so we think she's going to be a great fit.
Good catch, sounds like it.
Yeah. And she lives in Bonney Lake, so
oh wow,
captive audience.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Thank you. Any questions? Okay. All right. Move on to business and action items. AB 2346, drug fund purchase. Chief Jeter.
Yes, thank you very much. I think everybody knows that with the proliferation of fentanyl and the danger to our officers, we can't field test that due to the risk of exposing the officers. So there is a mitigation for that. It is quite expensive, but I would propose that we use our federal forfeiture fund to pay for it. The expenditure is $36,483.57, but this would allow the officers to test substances without taking it out of the packaging. It actually goes right through. It's accepted in court. So it is presumed to be positive when it comes back positive. So this would keep the officer safe. And right now we're not testing fentanyl just because we can't. And then the crime lab won't because it's not illegal to possess it. So, but at least this way, if we can test it, we can get a referral out of it. So we can positively say that it tested as fentanyl. So this would be, we're only asking obviously for one of these, so it's not something that would ride around in the car at $36,000. We wouldn't want it to roll off a seat on the off chance that we actually got to pursue somebody. So this would be something that we would like to keep in the property room. So when an officer is booking evidence, they could test it there, or if they have substance in the field, somebody could run it out to the officer in the field. That's the idea behind it. And currently have about $147,000 in the federal seizure fund. And I just got an email today from the DEA. They've been trying to deposit 2 checks in our account, but they haven't been able to. I think that's probably because the bank merger between Umpqua and Columbia. But so we'll get a little bit. I don't know how much those checks are going to be, but they will replenish it a little bit. So there's plenty of fundage in there, and this would be a definite increase of safety to our officers and an extra measure of accountability for those people that possess fentanyl.
We'll do some more testing other than just that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I see this pictures cocaine base here too.
Yep, it tests just about every substance, and it's the same thing. You don't have to take it out of the packaging.
Nice.
The one we're mainly worried about is fentanyl, but this way you don't even have to worry about getting it on your gloves and touching your nose or something like that. It goes right through the packaging. So it's a safe way to test all drugs, not just fentanyl, but fentanyl is the one that we're mainly worried about. So it's another way, and it should make the little test kits breaking the ampules and putting a little bit of the substance in there should make that pretty much obsolete.
Does it give you a record of what you've done to testing?
Yeah, it comes with a complete record that's recognized by the court. Not exactly sure. I know it takes some sort of liquid because we had to buy 100 test kits, which aren't cheap. But it's for the safety. It's a great investment in the safety of our officers. So
Sounds good to me.
Seems like a no-brainer. To me, I know obviously fentanyl has been laced all kinds of things as well. So even if you're testing something else, you might get fentanyl with that too. That's great.
Yeah, I'm down for it.
thank you.
All right.
Consent agenda?
So yeah, I can't remember. Is that on for tonight or is that for
I had it set for the 28th.
28th? Okay.
Oh, actually, it is on tonight's consent agenda.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
If that's okay with finance committee, I'm fine with that. I just wasn't sure if there would be a need to let it ride for a couple of weeks if there were further questions.
I think it's good for tonight.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, it's item G on tonight's consent agenda.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yep.
All right. Move on to AB 2344, opioid. I'm gonna say it now. Settlement allegation agreement. Dina.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Carter. So this would permit the mayor to sign the settlement participation forms and allocation agreement. Last year, there was a settlement against several other pharmaceutical companies associated with the opioid epidemic. The state has been litigating this, and so there's now a second settlement against several other drug companies. So the city already participated in the first one. This would just be participating in the second settlement. The city will receive approximately $250,000 over a 15-year period. The first settlement was also about $250,000, but that one was over a 17-year period. The funds can be used for opioid abatement strategies, treatment, supporting people in treatment and recovery, helping people get access to care and treatment who are in the criminal justice system, and also it can be used to address the needs of pregnant or parenting women and babies with neonatal abstinence syndrome, and it could also be used for first responder training. So there is a long list of things it can be used for. There is an opioid abatement council that is going to make sure that the city uses it for something that's allowed and not something that's not allowed. The deadline for the city to participate is April 18th. And so the recommendation would be to allow the mayor to sign the allocation agreement and all the participation forms.
Questions?
So once you get the money, how do you make decision on using the funds that way? Does that come back through us?
Yes,
Okay,
so we've already had one stakeholders meeting, and then I attended a meeting last week with Pierce County Council Member Hitchin, and then there's another meeting on March 23rd where a whole bunch of the Pierce County cities are coming together in Puyallup and discussing it. And so staff will bring a recommendation, and obviously listen to what you as council want to do. We'll bring a recommendation, just to finance again, and you'll vote on it. It does still have to be approved also by the Opioid Abatement Council for the Pierce region, and they're basically there to make sure we're using it on an approved use and on a non-approved use.
be good.
Is that going to a separate fund, kind of like the drug seizure fund type deal?
I know that finance somehow marked it as like this goes, I don't remember the word that Sherry used, but it is marked it doesn't just go into the general fund. It's marked somehow in finance language.
Like
separately.
it's got a project number probably associated with it.
Where's this going? Maybe John knows.
Wait, could it go? I was proposing the March 28th meeting on the consent agenda
March 28th.
if that's okay with the finance committee.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
That works.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Number 3, memorandum regarding job titles and descriptions for the court administrator and probation officer. Judge Daniels.
Okay, thank you, everybody. So This is about changing the name of the court administrator and her job description to be compliant with General Rule 29. The General Rule 29 describes the court administrator as the court executive officer for the court who works under the direction and supervision of the presiding judge. And it also sets forth mandatory continuing education requirements for the court administrator. And so we just want to bring that position up to date and make it compliant with General Rule 29 and change the name of the court administrator, the job title, to Judicial Branch Administrator. Any questions about that?
Does that change pay scales for anyone and how that works?
It doesn't.
Yeah, when the judge brought this forward to the mayor and I for consideration, I suggested she draft the memo that's before you today. Some of you will recall, I think about a year ago, when Jason Sullivan had proposed some reorganizations to planning and building, we did something similar and just brought it forward to you for informational purposes only. But the mayor is supportive of this.
That's good.
So if there's no other questions about that, then with regard to the probation officer's job title, it's come to the court's attention that probation and probation officer are kind of outdated titles. And in order to bring Bonney Lake up into the 21st century and sort of be in alignment with other courts that are being modern, and we want to change the name from probation to court support services, and the title of the probation officer to court support services case manager. And this is to support the current social attitudes that look more to rehabilitation rather than the punitive aspects that are sort of tied to the term probation. And so that's what we want to do. And also, it's the same thing with this one. I've already run it by John, and the mayor is supportive of this. It doesn't affect the salary for the probation officer either. So any questions about that?
Does the term probation still stay in effect as far as the action against a plaintiff?
Yes, all of her duties are still the same.
I mean, but probation will still be used as a legal term, not necessarily in the officer case, but if someone does get probation, is that still the term we will be using?
Supervision. We have active supervision, which is a more stringent sort of probation.
Okay.
And then we have what we call inactive probation, where the probation officer or the court support services officer is still monitoring the individual, but the monitoring is not as intense. It's for inactive, it's on a quarterly basis, whereas active is she's checking every week on the individual to make sure that they're compliant with the court's conditions.
Okay.
And she still prepares reports. Does UAs, teaches all the classes, all of the things that she has been doing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Great. Thank you, Judge.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Move on to AB 2345.
Is that consent?
I think it was just a memo.
Oh, memo. Okay, okay.
It's more of an information.
Okay. thank
Oh,
you.
and
Sorry.
is Kathy there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, she has a copy of our chart, our organizational chart for everybody.
Yeah, I think she passed that out. We got it.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay, AB 2345, donations and pre-authorizing city staff to obtain monetary donations through an event sponsorship program.
Yes.
Yes, Leslie and Dave.
Yep. So David and I are here to answer any questions. The mayor is interested in offering a event sponsorship program, and that would expect monetary donations to help toward our events. But in research, we found that our code, that council has to approve any monetary donations for. So before even starting development of one, we wanted to come and see if we can get pre-authorization to start an event sponsorship program and solicit donations.
I've been in support of this for as long as I've been on the council. I'm all for it. The only caveat I would like to say is rather than bring everyone to the council, consider like something under $10,000, accepting this, something under $10,000 to be approved at the administrative level rather than something along those lines. So it's not every sponsorship has to go before council. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
I was going to ask the same thing. I didn't have the exact dollar amount in my head yet, but I was kind of thinking the same one. Some number.
That would be wonderful. Yeah. Our code is written where we have to get authorization, like you have to accept it per ordinance. So John, is there a workaround, like some?
Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, in that language that's in the code, we could just clear, whatever monetary threshold you want to include in there.
That makes sense.
In your research, what dollar amounts have you found that are typically coming in to do a?
Yeah, it varies. I mean, you can have any sort of range, and you can work with a business if they're interested within any certain amount. But usually, like 250 to 1,000. I've seen some like do 5,000 or 10,000. Like I've in the past have had a fireworks sponsor at $10,000. So it just varies on the business and what they want to participate at, what level they want to participate.
Now I want to withdraw that because I want to make sure we're doing things that are in line with for vendors who are in line with what we expect as well. I don't know if I necessarily want.
Maybe that's the reason it was in there.
Joe's Explosives, illegal fireworks.
No. It was like I hosted a fire like in Kenmore. We had a fireworks show, so we had a business that sponsored at the $10,000 level.
Oh, okay.
So we could add like a barge to the water and have fireworks go up higher.
Gotcha.
So it helps with bringing in funds so we could.
Oh, okay.
So no, that was
like someone trying to overturn legislation here on fireworks.
So what do you anticipate doing when you want the business? You're going to tell them what they can work. Their idea. I mean, look, we talked about having someone pay for the stage all summer long and get donation that way.
What Dave and I were talking, and there's so many different ways we can approach it. And do you want to jump in or?
I think the big thing is when I first started, as I look back in the calendar 16 years ago now, it was my understanding that it was kind of like a personal checkbook where you go out and receive a sponsorship from your business. For instance, we'll say you're going to donate $500, then that money would go in our funds to be able to spend an extra $500 on to making it better.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually not how it works. It just goes back into the general fund. So the goal would be, what can we do to help a business support their business by getting advertising out while making our community events to the next level? Like, for instance, right now, fireworks, a $4,000 show is about the smallest show any fireworks company will do. But the city really doesn't have the money to do a bigger fireworks show. So if we got your business that wanted to donate $10,000 to have a better fireworks show, then we could turn around and make that fireworks show that much better.
What I think Tom's asking is like with BBL, you get your name on a shirt for a certain dollar amount, a plaque, a banner. It goes up. Is there some sort of tiered levels there that?
It would be very similar. It would be worked out per business because in the event industry, a lot of promoters don't like to do a standard silver, bronze, gold. It's like, okay, you have this much money. I know that a value for a banner is approximately this much. Value for the tent at Bonney Lake Days is this much. So it's really custom built to each.
And like what I always talked about, your stage is sponsored also, like Walmart stage. So everything will be their name on it when you talk about it.
Correct.
Or event. Walmart stage stuff that they want to pay $10,000 and everybody else constantly.
Yeah, so we'll have like general guidelines to help guide our discussion with the businesses. Yeah, but each one, sometimes someone needs, like, their interest is having a booth or, you know, connecting in a different way than having, their name on a website or something like that. So it's just tailoring it to help that business reach their goals as well. But this is a great way for them to give back, and participate, partner with the city and stuff.
So I have a question for John about this. Numerous times I've asked this past, there are some cities that have the equipment, public works, with business names on it, especially like our street clearance stuff. Would that apply to this too? Can we, I don't know if we can do that in our city, but we've talked about before, but never done it. But if someone have their name on it.
As part of this, we're not proposing this. I know we kind of jokingly, tongue in cheek, said, you know, in the back of the patrol cars, we could put, you know, John's bail bond service 1-800 call John. But no, we're not proposing to sell advertising on city vehicles.
Okay, I just thought again.
But maybe, like, but maybe down the line, like, we start here and then, I mean, there are cities that have, you know, when they do their scoreboards, they have a sponsor scoreboard. So, or in the rec program, they're helping fund some of that and sponsor kids, so kids with like low income can participate, things like that. So there's other ways that you can branch out, but for now we're focused on.
Do you have a maximum amount someone could donate? Does that need to be in there? No.
Yeah, right now it just says, you know, you have to accept it by ordinance, and I think what we're discussing here is, you know, is there an administrative threshold of X number of dollars where we don't have to bring that forward? Or do you want to know about every nickel and dime that comes in?
No. Nothing under 10,000.
Yeah, I think 10,000 sounds good.
Yeah.
You're still with that now, Justin?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think 10,000 sounds good for Parks, Rec, and
Okay.
things.
Okay.
So just quick clarification.
Yes.
10,000 is a lump sum, or 10,000 through 11 vendors?
No, I would say one vendor. So really what I think we're trying to do is let you have the autonomy to do what you need to with your vendors and not have to come to us to approve every $250.
Thank
That's,
you.
that's
Appreciate
perfect.
Did you say this is going to be in a separate fund by itself, John, or in the general fund that's controlled?
It would go into the general fund, but then
earmarked.
earmarked, yeah, and then Sherry would do a budget of the year.
Didn't get lost.
And I think, Leslie, you were talking about the 28th as well for this one?
Yep. Can we put it on the consent? Are you agree with that? If we're updating it,
Yeah, I think consent would go for that. Yeah.
go ahead.
I don't think anybody will have a major
I'll
problem
just
with that.
update the agenda bill to reflect the 10,000.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right, let's see, number 5 here is AB 2314, revisions to the City of Bonney Lake business license requirements.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. The pretty straightforward revision here to City Code. Currently in BLMC Chapter 5, Section 5, the only exemption given to businesses from the general requirements to obtaining a business license are for businesses that are located outside the city that have annual value of products, gross proceeds of sales, or gross income less than $2,000 or less. What this revision is doing is establishing a no fee business license for home occupation businesses located within the city of Bonney Lake who meet the requirements mentioned, easier to say, that have made less than $10,000. So this would, again, just to restate, this would make available to home occupation businesses located within the city of Bonney Lake who've earned less than $10,000 the ability to not have to pay the fee for a business license. We will still require a business license for them because there's other things that we need to be checking for when a business is, starting business here in Bonney Lake, but there will be no fee for that. And this really was based on conversations that were had at Finance Committee back last summer.
I was gonna say about a year ago.
Yeah, and we had to wait for a time limit to expire. We were required to keep the model business license ordinance in place as it existed and make no changes to it for a period of 4 or 5 years. I think it
remember that
was.
conversation.
That recently expired, so it gives us the ability to do.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for this.
Yeah, sounds good to me. Should be consent.
Yeah, I would say, what's the proposal for this one? Go to consent,
28th is what it shows here.
no, thanks. Right. Work. Approval of meeting notes.
They are good.
Good. And then back to open discussion, Allen York Park. Ryan.
Yeah, thank you again, Deputy Mayor. This originally was going through CDC, and CDC elected to push this topic to Finance Committee because if the decision is made to move forward, it would require a budget amendment. Basically, the question on the table is there a desire to purchase pay-to-park kiosks for Allen York Park? As part of the materials that I included in the packet, there are 2 quotes included there from vendors who supply this type of equipment. They are both roughly from the $60,000 to $70,000 mark. This was budgeted in the 21-22 budget, but because there was so much in the air at the time with Allen York Park, and we didn't know, still arguably don't really know what we're doing with some of the parking at Allen York Park, the decision was made to just hold on the purchase and wait till a few things settled out. But being that we are in the early part of this biennium, I did want to bring it back forward for discussion to see if there was a desire to still do this. And if so, I haven't had a chance to connect with Sherry yet, but I will need to talk with her about how this would be covered in the mid-biennium amendment. I know that, and John, chime in here, pick me under the virtual table if you need to. But I believe at the end of this biennium, Park CIP would have roughly $600,000 to $650,000 remaining.
That sounds about right.
And so potentially, and this is the part I want to vet with Sherry just to make sure, but I think potentially some of those funds could be used in order to cover this expense. So that's really the question here. This is going to probably continue to run parallel through two committees, because pending what's decided here today, then we'll need to go back through CDC and talk about some of the details for having this equipment in place, fees to charge, et cetera, that kind of stuff. But today I'm just hoping to find out whether this would be something that finance would be comfortable expending funds on, provided that it.
We talked about CDC, that this is portable. You can actually, things change in the future, you can move these without a real hassle.
That's correct. The quote that I got was for solar powered units. And, you know, this part of the country, we always kind of wonder about that. I confirmed with both vendors. One of them is actually from just up the road at Vancouver, BC, that the solar systems that are used to power these are quite successful year round. And so that shouldn't be an issue. And yes, it gives us the ability to, as the park changes, we could conceivably, with a little bit of work, move them to different locations.
I'm just going to ask how much work, just because anything that's portable is easily stolen, essentially. So
yeah, so these sit on a concrete base. They're anchor bolted down, and I believe that access to those is through a secure panel in the side of the equipment. So it's not something that anybody can just come up and throw a socket on and.
If that was still in the car, they'd drag it out with it.
And we are also, there's, in this case, what we had talked about doing, there's multiple ways that these can accept payment. You can have just card only as one. You can also, both of these have an app you can have on your phone where you don't even need to do that itself. They also do have it available if you wanted to have a pay by cash kind of system, but lots of jurisdictions are moving away from that because of the reason that was just mentioned. So there are multiple options there. Lots of things that I think at CDC, if we come back through, we could make decisions on at that time.
What's the intent behind the one at Ballfield 4?
That was what's listed on that figure right now is just what was discussed previously for locations.
Oh, okay.
That was an assumption made at the time when we were. That would be regular vehicle parking.
Oh, okay.
Now that it's boat trailer parking,
Okay. Because I'm like, I don't want to double the boat guys by having the launch and having the park.
Parks needs money.
if it's not coming through.
Yeah, no,
through this.
yeah, we would definitely make changes so that
Okay.
people were not.
Gotta take that security out there, you know?
Yeah. Funny Todd's business is on there. Oh, yeah.
I'm good for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Okay. Well, I think then, John, probably the next issue is just nail down with Sherry that, the details of the mid-biennium amendment. But what I'll have to do here to make sure all the boxes are checked is I'll actually put together a formal RFP, send that out. These need to be re-quoted anyways because the quotes have aged. We will get our quotes in, make a final decision. You go with the low bid. Both of them are very similar systems. So going that route obviously is not going to shortchange us. Else, we'll make a selection. We'll move forward.
Just the possible savings or offset from the increased cost of what was previously quoted. You could possibly do 5 instead of 6 with that ball field 4.
Yeah, we'll look at the locations and make a decision there. I think you're right, though. I don't know that there'd be a need to go with 6.
Yeah, save about 8,000, which would probably be the cost increase over what the last quote was, anyway. So.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Any other open discussion?
I have one. This is probably pertaining a lot with John. Talked to Sherry today about it. And then in the conversation, I emailed John about the cost of our attorney that we have.
Yes.
And it seemed awfully high. It's going to maybe exceed our budget possibly. Are you looking at ways to cut that back down?
Oh, well, certainly it's very early in the year. There's a lot of catching up and getting up to speed. But we are watching that on a monthly basis and tracking those legal costs.
Because maybe she doesn't have to be at all of our meetings, maybe just the workshops, whatever, not the council meetings. Going away too. But she comes to quite a few meetings that way. We're paying for the mileage.
We're paying for her travel, which was one thing that Kathleen did not charge us for. So, right off the bat, you're, at $295 an hour, you're $600 a day just in travel time alone.
Yeah, because I thought we'd have a savings by having on contract, not just hiring an attorney. So that would be, till the year comes out this year, what's the best savings for the city in the long run?
Yeah, I forget. I think we, off the top of my head, we budgeted about $180,000, I think, for legal services.
Yeah, that's true.
And there was probably some catching up to do to figure out.
Yeah, and that's certainly. I mean, there's some catching up that she has to do, and we knew that going into it. Kathleen had been with us so long, there were quite a few things that she could answer right off the cuff that didn't take much research.
It was budgeted 190 because Sherry says, I know we weren't using much legal towards the end of Kathleen's contract. I want to make sure that you are aware of the drastic change since October. We're spending about $4,000 or $5,000 per month, so it made a lot of sense for the council to decide to go with a contract attorney. However, for November, we spent $22,000. December short meeting was about $19,000. When we budgeted $190,000 was for 2023.
October was $1,500. November was $21,712. December was $18,000. January was $17,300. February was $21,500. Since we passed the contract back in October, she's billed us for 273 hours through the end of February. And so Kathleen was roughly averaging 28 hours a month, whereas since October, Jennifer is right around 54 hours a month.
If you could keep us updated maybe later in the year how we're coming, how's it going? Okay. Make a change or something. Thank you, John.
Yep, you're welcome.
That's all I got.
Okay. Any other discussion?
None for me.
Okay. I got nothing. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you later, John.